Arrendor is on the brink of upheaval. For centuries, the clan struggled against giants until 400 years ago, when dragons crossed the Great Sea, forcing them to unite and build the 10 Bastions. As the threat faded, the clans fractured into the 10 Kingdoms, and all but the last Bastion were abandoned. As ancient calamities stir and darkness rises in the east, my 4 champions must rise up to unite the kingdoms, restore the Bastions, uncover their secrets, and stand against this darkness as a declaration of war.
Calagon Dör. I will discover the secrets of my lineage and cement my legacy as one of the greatest adventurers of all time.
Cleave still in here. The migration of the dragons forced the migration of peoples and beasts, which brings death. We're all invasive species now. I won't let us become extinct ones.
The name's Rodrick Elwood, the voice of this generation, and the greatest performer in the world. Oh, and you should see me with a bow.
And I, Arlyn Dursalai, searching for my father's sword, Trident, to bring justice to these lands. Together, we are the 4 Horsemen.
And this is Divine Inspiration.
Hello and welcome back yet again.
Hi guys. Hello everybody. Hi.
I'm involved. I did it. We're here. So it has been an exciting week for quite a few of us here, but I dare speak for all when I say it's so exciting to be back. It's so good to get to see where the 4 Horsemen take us next with this crazy campaign. And so with that being said, gather around, get cozy, and enjoy as we get to tell this wonderful tale of legend by Divine Inspiration. So, last we left off, the 4 Horsemen found themselves starting the session in a cave of fire after falling asleep with a chained up orc who clearly was not allied with them, and decided that he would give up his own life in order to potentially take the lives of all of the horsemen, exploding an entire box of dynamite so that he could blow up the entire cave, himself included. After struggling back and forth, some a bit harder, one character in particular seemed to have lost his fight. However, after Rodrick having, we'll say, seen the other side, gotten a brief glimpse, he was able instead to fight his way back. And so, as each person now came to and eventually came to terms with the events that had just unfolded, they decided that they would kind of slowly search out the perimeter of this bastion, of which Cleave eventually took it upon himself to take a slightly closer look, going as far as to even touch the massive entryway, this gigantic blackened door that seemed to be the specific entrance to this bastion, which he now knows is called the Ziggurat.
That's what I wanted to write down.
And so, going back, getting the rest of his allies, everybody eventually found their way now to the opposite side of this little island, if you will, this peninsula of sorts, where Arlyn uniquely found himself pulling a weapon from the ground at Cleave's behest. And with that, as lightning started pulling from his own body and sparking around from this javelin, he pulled what is clearly something that resonates very, very closely with his own power, as this massive lightning bolt-shaped javelin came flying from the ground and sparking with this now black electricity all throughout this cave. And so with that, as you two now stand there, Cleave, in the excitement, if you will, of this moment, the adrenaline begins pumping through you, and you get to now see the awestruck look in Arlyn's eyes. And almost instinctively looking back to see your friends, to try to, like, pull them into this scenario, you're brought back to a harsh reality. Where your friend Rodrick is almost hard to recognize in that moment. Severely disfigured at this current moment, having just fought his way back and barely holding on to life. The last thing that you'd all heard from him was just 2 words. Kill me. Not great things to hear from a friend who was just brought back. And yet, there is some amount of peace as you look back to him, curled up, pressed against this solid rock wall. Different strands of hair kind of falling about his face, where you can see that it almost looks like he kind of tried to make his hair fall in the way that it normally would, and yet a good 85+% of his hair is now just gone. His eye, you can tell from this angle, is a bit drooping at the moment. His clothing all burnt, and the charred remains of that explosion from earlier in the night still all about him. And yet, it's hard to decide which is sadder in the moment, as you can now see that Calagon isn't fully asleep, but rather seems to be lightly kind of rocking, kind of pressed against this rock wall, face in his hands, with clear drops of water falling down from the palms of his hands, from between his fingers. So, as the night continues deeper on into darkness, this lightning going off behind you now fades. And you can see where Rodrick starts to jolt every now and then, as though stricken with fear, amidst what you could best assume would be night terrors from his recent experience. Taking it all in now, you start to look around and you remember trying to check up on Calagon, but also on Barry. And turning back, you now see Arlyn, arm outstretched, javelin in hand, turning back to you. Take it away.
Arlyn,
Yes.
you know what you must do. No, I'm just kidding.
Put him out of his misery. I would never, Cleave. How dare you?
No.
That... Why couldn't we just come this way first?
You know, I wish we would have.
I wish I could be more excited for you right now. It's...
I can say the same, Cleave. You don't have to. It has not been a grand night for any of us. The things we've witnessed and our friends in their state right now. I think we must let them rest.
If you don't mind, I'll take the watch. I don't think I
I
can
would
sleep.
appreciate that.
I'm gonna post up. Is that little like bridge that they're sitting under? Can that be climbed up?
It wouldn't be easy, but it seems definitely possible.
I'm gonna give that a shot. Try to get a good view, high ground.
It wouldn't be terribly difficult. Do you have any tools that would assist in that?
Probably not anymore. I think everything kind of burned up. I mean, let me see.
too many wooden objects
not
at hand.
like not the rope part at least. That'd probably be gone. Do I have pythons?
Always a good question. Those things are so useful.
Wait, I have rope, net, mess kit, very good.
All useful things.
I feel like that will be a dungeoneer situation.
Hey, Arlyn, before you go to bed, do you have pythons for like rock climbing?
Do I have what? I'm sorry?
Pythons?
I don't.
A dungeoneer's pack and not an explorer's pack?
I'll tell you right now. Don't remember what pack I had.
If not, could you just, I don't know, just give me a lift on your shoulders to get up here first?
I can definitely do that, yes.
Go ahead and make an athletics check with advantage.
That's right on.
Pretty sure I have an explorer's pack, but that comes in an explorer's pack?
No, it comes in
It's
dungeoneers.
Dungeoneer's pack.
Oh, yeah. I'm not the Dungeoneers.
I have the explorers.
Yeah, me too.
A bunch of explorers here, okay.
12?
12. It's gonna take a while. It's very uncomfortable for Arlyn, especially.
I'm like, oh, just don't
I mean, I'm
go
burned
to
up
sleep
too.
until you know I'm up there. Just give me a second.
I'd say that, regardless, it is clearly doable. It just does take a lot longer than you had hoped for starting your shift here.
All right. Once I get up there, though, I'll just kind of like Batman brood, I'll just be kind of leaning over the side, just like, just being moody, like what out of their sight. I know I already did this in the home game, but I'm not gonna wake anybody else up for another shift. I'm just gonna stick it out through the night.
Cool. All right, easy enough. And for you, Arlyn, what are you going to be doing?
I'm gonna take my downtime portion of my rest to try and mend Rodrick's clothes the best that I could to my ability. Also feeling weak and at 3 health. When I can get it the best that I could, then I'll take my rest as well.
Okay. And where are you resting?
I will be resting inside the cave.
Okay. All right. Easy enough. Rodrick.
Did my sling survive?
Yeah.
All right, I'm down
Leather.
with
Stuff's already tanned and dealt with.
Cool.
We're gonna ask that every time we pull from our inventory.
I'm trying to throw away anything that's definitely made out of like plant.
Did our vials that we're supposed to use to cover ourselves in goo
Stuff
to
is
breathe underwater?
surprisingly,
Do those
resistant,
survive?
yeah, all as well. So, Rodrick, as you quickly fall back to unconsciousness, this time of your own volition, it's still not as peaceful as
That's
you'd
the
hoped.
real question. I gotta find out.
Tormented by the thoughts from this night still. You think you escape it for a brief moment, as now within your subconscious you hear screams. And what may very well be something to be feared instead, as you look about, you start to see hands going up. And within this darkness below you, it's a familiar sight. It's not torment. Instead, it's an audience, all excited for a singular performance. And yet, as though outside of your own control, as though your mind is thinking back to times past, you watch now as these hands start to get closer and closer, realizing now that your body is falling, as though going into a stage dive. And so, as the hands start to grab at you, you don't feel the normal pressure that you would, but instead you feel each one of them burning your skin. And as each hand goes up to grab you and move you along, holding at a different point on your body and moving you along through this crowd, you instead watch as each one turns to a different lick of flame coming up and singeing different aspects of your clothing, hair, and body. And eventually, as the light overtakes, you start to fall further and further into this crowd of flame, where the darkness now completely consumes. And you're left alone with your thoughts within your subconscious, now recognizing that not only did you just face death, but you faced an aspect of yourself that you feared most. This aspect that is just the concepts of not only having to fight for survival, but fight for greatness. And in that, fight to be who you are. Clearly losing an aspect of that in your physical beauty during this explosion. But you also had to face the evil in yourself. And something about that feeling continues to stay with you all throughout this night and early into the morning, as eventually you feel warmth. Not an immediate burning, but a slow, gentle warmth. Comfortable at first, until a few minutes pass by, and now, almost being forced awake, you do feel where there were burns, and it almost instinctively, you start to feel twitches within your muscles, as though your body is reacting to burns, that as your eyes widen and instinctively open to, are clearly faded. And what were burns, you can now see is just the immediate scarring, the pulling within your very own arms, in a much, much better put together version of what you had fallen asleep in. And with that,
Nice.
it is now morning.
Did we rest?
You guys did.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I haven't taken a long rest in a while. It feels so good.
So I noticed that my wounds were leaving in a dream or when I woke up.
So when you woke up, you realized that your wounds are largely gone, but that your body has already healed in many ways.
But is it
but
scarred
clearly
and
not fully.
keloid? Like keloided over?
Essentially.
Okay.
I think I just heard that word for the first time today. That's fine.
Knowing that I had my drum with me still, I'm going to reach for it and then look in the reflection of the drum, and what do I see?
Not what you would hope. It is, unfortunately, very similar to the night prior, but closed up. What was open flesh, essentially, is closed off and, in fact, probably more healed than what you would hope, being that it almost seems now as though this has to be permanent. You suddenly realize that your flesh is what many would consider to be healed, except it just looks different.
Okay. Do I have my hair back, or is it mostly missing still?
It's mostly missing still.
Okay.
Wow. He's
I'm-
ugly.
I'm gonna start crying.
Rightfully so.
Just
Kind of crying quietly against, like, away from everybody, just to myself, not bringing attention or trying to cause a scene. Realizing that every dream that once was will probably be no longer. Because everything that I was capable of accomplishing within what I felt one of my best attributes is completely stolen from me. So
Stare at Cleave.
I'm gonna go from crying and kind of gather myself up, and I'm going to then start. So the clothes that he had been mending, are they mended on my body now?
Yes.
So what do my clothes look like?
It's largely similar to what you had previously. There are still patches missing here and there, but otherwise, most of the fringes and kind of exterior aspects look pretty good.
Okay. I'm going to remove both sleeves that I had, and I'm going to just start sewing them together to make a hood that attaches to my cloak.
Dang! Rodrick is going full ranger now.
Yikes. Something like that.
And it'll be a deep hood that covers my face. So coming down, it'll have holes here where I can see through, but it would cover my face.
Oh, this guy's scarred.
Wow. Wow.
Man. Yeah, watch the last episode if you haven't, guys.
Yeah, you have to.
Yikes.
The last 2 episodes have been game-changing.
Cleave,
wow.
make a Constitution saving throw for me.
That's a really good one. 22.
22. All right. Well, then, for the time being, you're doing a-okay. But you do feel the levels of exhaustion starting to come over you as waves, as though you're fighting off weakness, fighting off just complete slumber.
I was assuming I was just gonna get the first point of exhaustion. Am I getting that?
No,
Oh, okay.
not for the time being.
You beat it. Nice.
So, all right. And with that, Cleave, Rodrick, and Calagon, you guys would probably be the first ones up, as the sun is now risen.
I just want to note that when Calagon woke up after finally falling asleep, it was one of those times where you wake up in your mind, but you just don't want to open your eyes. So you just sit there for don't know how long, just trying to not go into the next day. And eventually I hear enough rustling around me to warrant opening my eyes and sitting up. And the first thing I'm going to do when I wake up is reach into the pocket that I used to keep Barry in. And I noticed that I still have a object in there, but I never really paid attention to because Barry was always there. It's that stone,
Right.
the gemstone, and just gonna hold on to that and kind of contemplate with that as I get up and get ready for the day. Not saying a word, obviously, just
Okay.
kind of down.
All right. Then, Arlyn, it does take a little bit longer as you'd exhausted yourself beyond what even the others had. Not only just being awake through it all, but then going the extra mile, helping to carry them around, helping to mend different aspects of clothing and helping everybody just kind of gather here for the night, and then having power almost forcibly drawn from you in a moment. And all at once you start to feel just complete vibrance of life within you as you now wake up fully restored for a new day and realize that The others are already moving around outside, each up to their own tasks.
So, I'm gonna sit up, kind of like brace myself for the day. It's similar to Calagon, but in a different way, right? Where you like wake up and you feel awake, but you just don't want to get up yet because you know it's gonna be a hard day.
For sure.
And I look behind me or to my side where my belongings are. I see this new weapon that I have, and my scars are all healed up. And
Thunder in real life, guys.
Right now.
Yeah.
It's thundering outside.
Probably can't hear it on the mics, but wow, that was awesome.
But it's
Yeah, his whole
amazing
face
in
was
here. Perfect theming.
That was crazy.
I look at the javelin that I have, and I feel grateful that I can breathe, but at the same time it's like a rush of memories that just don't leave his head. All he can think about is the way Rodrick looked as he was trying to pull him out of the fire. So I'm gonna get up and make my way outside to see if I can find the others and pretty much see what their state looks like at the moment.
It's a sad state, especially being the elected leader of this bunch. As you look on, Cleave almost looks like he's nodding off for a moment up top and kind of looks back, and now fighting it just clearly takes a scan of the area and catches you within his eye line off to the corner, his peripheral. Rodrick, already now at this point done with an entirely new aspect of his garb, where you can see he's now trying on this hood pressed over his head, and Calagon has only just started kind of pulling himself together at this point, now kind of pulling belongings and ensuring that his pack is all set for the next day.
So I'm going to take on the sight as I look, as they're kind of readying themselves, and I'm going to approach Calagon first. So as I get close, I'm going to say, Calagon.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry.
Arlyn, I appreciate what you're doing right now. You're just trying to be a good friend, but just really not in the mood to talk about it. But again, I appreciate what you're... What is that? What is that?
Cleave found it and brought me in, and
What?
it's, I guess, another tool I can use to help protect our party.
A lightning bolt?
Do you actually have a smile on your face as Calagon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I actually happy, or that's the question?
Well, no. But I'm going to say, well,
Dude, that's
luck,
sick.
I suppose.
Can I see it?
Sure, you can see it.
I'm gonna grab it. Dude. You always have the coolest stuff. Do you know what it does yet?
I don't.
No?
No.
Well, you are the lightning guy. I'm gonna hand it back to you.
Yeah.
Glad you got it.
Dursalai, the lightning guy.
I thought for sure that was going in the water. I thought that was just about to turn into lightning right there.
I don't know if it's gonna help us get off this island, though.
Unfortunately, I agree with you.
Are we going in?
Can we go in? Is the
Yeah.
question.
Well, yeah,
Mentally,
we
can we go in?
I think if there was any time for me to mentally go into a bastion with a lot of opposing people, now would be the time for me. Come on, you have that cool lightning thing. Let's go see how it works.
The last thing that I want to do, especially after a night like yesterday, is go in a hostile format.
I guess
Our
that's
mission, Calagon.
our mission.
Our mission. I know you're angry, as am I in some
not angry.
aspects.
I'm fine. Look at him. I'm smiling right now. I'm fine. I'm not
Cleave
angry.
silently sobs behind the rock over there.
Cleave.
I'm hiding.
Cleave, stop crying, man. If there's any difference than the impact of last night had on us, it is the idea that I'm done playing it safe. If we're really meant to do this, let's go and do it. I mean, I almost
What
died
exactly
3
do
times.
you mean by do this?
Let's go unite the bastions. Come on. That's why we're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So make sure that that is the first word that is in your mind when we enter. Unity.
Yeah.
Including the people in there.
Yeah.
Now, that does not mean that we should pull back as much as we did yesterday if we were met with hostility. But our main job is primarily to unite.
That's what everyone's been telling us. Gene. Other people.
Yeah, it seems like fate is following us where we go.
Fate.
And everywhere we go, burns.
Like I said, if it's fate, let's go.
All right.
Hey, Cleave, you ready?
I'm ready.
Cleave, are you still crying?
I gotta come around the corner.
I'm gonna
Dust
abruptly
myself
walk
off.
away from you
That's fine.
and walk over to Cleave.
All right, let's get inside.
Have you seen Rodrick? And then I see him from afar.
I mean, is he far?
That just
Is
feels
he
like
around
an
us?
insensitive choice of words.
what?
Have you seen Rod?
No, not in that way. Obviously, we're cornered up having a conversation.
I'm just gonna be still sitting on the ground, like back against the wall, with my knees up, and just kind of to myself, and you just pretty much completely covered. The only thing you can see is the scars from my arms. That's the only thing that's showing.
Well, I walked up to the door yesterday, and it's extraordinarily heavy, as though it's meant to bar those who aren't strong enough from getting through. I'm sure we could do it, but it just begs the question, and I'll leave this up to you all. Rodrick, in particular, do you want to go in our usual way? You could maybe disguise yourself as one of those 2 guards, or do we just go in like we mean business?
I think we should just go in. We mean business, right, guys?
Do you have a death wish, Calagon?
Maybe fate does. Actually, that's not true. I would have died one of these 5, 4. How many times? now
Since
is it?
when has my opinion mattered, Cleave?
You're the voice of the 4 horsemen, Rodrick. What do you mean? What do you think? Your
My opinion
matters.
didn't matter yesterday. So why would it matter today?
Yesterday never happened. Let's just focus on right now and today.
Never
Let's not
happened.
think about yesterday.
It never
Yesterday
happened?
never happened.
I'm gonna lean in And like whisper for Rodrick. From now on, my opinion doesn't matter. I serve you. You tell me.
You do look incredibly healed from just a night's sleep.
This is healed! I pulled back the thing, and you just see my hair matted and missing, and just Phantom of the Opera scars all over my face.
I didn't say it was pretty, I said healed. Maybe another night's rest can make you pretty again. I don't know.
And how am I supposed to go in there, looking like this?
What does your appearance have anything to do with your combat ability or persuasion abilities? I mean, I understand maybe with the she-elves, but you should be able to talk yourself out of anything, just like the old Rodrick. I mean, you're the same.
If you want to go in looking like something else, up to you.
I'm already going in looking like something else.
Took the words
I
right
lower
out
the
of
hood off, back on my head. So good. And I just start walking towards the bastion.
I'm gonna go right behind him, just walking right behind him
Well, I
with
will.
my dagger.
I'm gonna look at glance at Cleave as they're walking away and just kind of like give like a half defeated look and just make my way behind them.
Oh wow, okay. You're supposed to stop me. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
As you all approach Cleave, this isn't unfamiliar to you, but for the rest of you guys, this sight is certainly something to behold as you get closer and closer to it. Not especially wide per se, but these doors are towering, or rather I should say this door in particular. Within this entryway, the kind of juxtaposition of this blackened slate surface against this reddish stone is almost somewhat jarring. As now approaching it, there is this unusual sense of power, as though the nature around, while beautiful in its own right, is almost being choked out by the depths of power pulling from inside of this doorway. And each of you guys now gets to see carved into this doorpost the same thing that the night before Cleave had just seen, which is just this symbol of this tiered kind of platformed building of sorts. And where it says the Ziggurat, you guys recognize that that is not only the name of this building, but this bastion. As you now see the entryway here, you can see where it shows the sun over top this Ziggurat, and it couldn't be more fitting as you now all feel the heat bearing down on you from this early morning.
As we approach, I catch up to Calagon. I say, Calagon, can you fight with a blade?
That's all I got, man.
So I'm gonna grab the extra longsword that I believe Cleave had given me.
Okay.
I believe it was Cleave that gave
Sounds
me.
right. Yeah, he had
the
a
longsword.
lot of weapons from that stronghold.
I did give you an extra.
So an extra
Fortress of
longsword,
Angmar.
and I'm gonna grab my javelin. I'm gonna hand it to them, to him.
Oh,
Hand
sweet.
them to him.
Regular javelin, I think.
This would definitely be a lot better than the dagger. Which one should I? I'm gonna go with the long sword.
Do you know how to use either of those things?
No idea.
Okay.
It's better than a dagger.
Because you know how to use a dagger, though, I think.
I mean, I think common sense, but
Can you cast without your staff?
There's a couple things I've been able to do, but for the most part, I haven't been the Calagon I have old for a couple days now.
Was your staff your focus?
Yeah, and then there I got a cool wand from April, if you remember that. Yeah, but I didn't get my staff. It's still in that orc town. And then the wand is down the big giant spider hole. Or, no wait, someone took it. That's all I got. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Thanks, though. I'm gonna walk away.
Very well.
As I walk away, I'm gonna say, "What's the plan, guys? You guys want to knock, or should we just open?"
There could be as many as 100 men inside there. And I know of only one force that could defeat that. And I turn into a gorilla.
A gorilla. Oh my goodness. Pretty sick. Though.
Hopefully there's
That's pretty
100. There's not 101 men inside this
then
bathroom.
it's a wrap. And then I'm going to try to push the doors open.
Okay. Go ahead and make a strength check for me then.
Sword,
Alright,
weapon.
let's go. Let me pull up the gorilla's stat block real quick.
You just said regular longsword, right?
Regular longsword, regular javelin.
Gotcha.
Did my wooden club and shield from the fences of Uswe village survive the fire?
I would say that most specifically, Rodrick was the only one like fully burnt to a crisp, and so
Most of us,
it would make sense that the rest of you guys were more. Yeah, you guys got the concussive blast primarily,
Okay.
with burns included.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was a fire.
His was where it was
He
like
was
on
a
fire.
campfire, yeah.
Okay, deal.
It was a little different.
Strength. Much better. Okay, here we go. $20.
20. You put both hands to this almost wall-like structure, and you start to push. And as you do so, you recognize that this thing is even heavier than you'd initially expected. As you now drop a shoulder into it and start digging away, you kicking up some sand, start to now finally dig your toes in, and slowly
fingers.
but surely you all watch now as this massive gorilla now just starts inching forward. As this door now holds open for just this moment, as you can see Cleave now struggling to keep it open.
Oh, my arms are long. Here's your chance.
I am going to peek in.
Going to peek in?
Peek in before I enter, just to see what I see. I'm gonna take like a 1 second like analytic view
Cool.
of what I'm walking in.
Much to your surprise, despite what you had all just previously discussed, you're not greeted by hordes of monsters, 100 men or otherwise. You're instead greeted with a barren, yet beautiful, awe-inspiring monument before you. This massive stepped pyramid, not a ziggurat as shown on the slab above, but a pyramid rising from this sea of like bone-white sand and encircled by that very familiar towering wall of reddish stone that creates this canyon around it, much as it is around you all currently.
Whoa.
Wow. So yeah, I enter and I motion them to come in after me.
Sorry. Whoa. I'm in
Now.
Okay, I'm in now. What were they guarding? There's no one here.
Well, we don't know that quite yet. There's no one directly here. I would keep our guards up.
Are all of you guys going in currently?
Okay.
Roger?
Yeah.
all of you guys? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It will
Easy
take
enough.
all three of them going in for me to like close
Yeah,
the door. And then
that's
go in.
that's why I ask. I want to make sure. Fair enough.
The hide armor I'm wearing was from a full-grown full orc. Can I still be wearing armor?
Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah.
It depends on the sizing of the gorilla, but it could definitely still fit.
Then I'm gonna keep my my mace, shield, and hide armor. Everything else is gonna get absorbed into my form.
Very good.
Maybe and one torch, just in case it was dark in there.
Fantastic. Okay.
Cool. Is it dark?
It is not. It is currently quite bright. And as you guys step forward, you recognize the true breadth of what it is that you're seeing currently in this moment. As now stepping forward, what looked like stairs from afar that would be that of stairs to normal mortal men, you recognize now are each more like platforms before you.
Whoa.
You are all dwarfed in comparison to this monstrous construct. Etched across each of its 6 vast terraces are carvings of different fantastical creatures of
We are the
every variety. Some familiar, some a bit more foreign, and others impossibly strange. Winding up its sides, however, specifically, there are 2 forms that are very clearly different from the rest, etched to almost look as though the rest of the creatures were inside the stomachs of these winding, massive, serpentine creatures that look to be carved as though they were winding up the entirety of this pyramid.
like the guardrails of the steps, or are you saying?
So each of the actual 6 massive platforms
Okay.
that the steps are going across are like completely filled top to bottom with these gigantic serpentine looking bodies. Each of them with long, almost bladed like
on the wall. So like if I
yeah,
was
like
looking
on
at
the
next-
wall.
Okay.
Yeah, like imagine this entire wall behind us,
Right.
floor to ceiling, just one massive stretch of body with other creatures carved inside of it, as though all inside of its stomach,
Okay.
Oh, wow.
within its form.
Interesting.
They did say everything was bigger back then.
At the summit, at the peak, there is a clear relief. Something that looks like it should be a doorway, blocked off instead by stone,
Well,
with one of the mouths, the gaping mouths of one of these 2 serpentine creatures, where you can see it seems as though it's preying on this doorway, or whatever might be within. With its mouth outstretched, you can see countless teeth carved in, almost as though somebody had practically just given up on trying to take actual shapes and instead just started furiously just etching all that they could to try to account for the number of teeth within this mouth.
so all types of creatures inside the belly of the beast.
Should we split up? Cover more ground?
I don't think that's necessarily a great idea.
There's no one here. Can we hear? Can you hear anything? Dead quiet.
Dead quiet, other than minor wisps of air picking up sands around you.
I don't know what they were guarding, but obviously it's gone. So
Are the steps like insurmountable, or are they just regular steps? Like
They're climbable, they're just way larger than any step should be.
okay,
It's very much like having to like climb onto a table.
okay. Well, good thing I'm an ape.
do you think we should go up
I'm just
or
gonna-
walk around? Maybe see the other side. What do you think? In Cleave, at this moment, in this form, you probably could tear up that temple, huh?
And then just start going forward. I just climb myself up the first step.
Nice.
Just keep moving.
Yeah.
As I get up to the first one, I just hold out my hand behind me and
Oh.
see if anybody else is coming.
I will
Nice.
gladly take that hand and
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow.
And I'll just kind of
along.
keep pulling everybody up with my monkey strength, just like,
Okay.
A gorilla isn't a monkey.
you know what I'm saying.
Rodrick,
Just saying.
what are you doing in this moment as he's pulling everyone up these stairs?
I'll
It's Planet of the Apes stuff. They get offended.
I'll join, but I'll climb myself.
Okay. Very well then. As you guys start climbing one massive stair after the next, it's immediately obvious that this is not intended for any normal man to climb regularly, but rather this is almost designed in a way that either must be for giants or to intentionally keep people from climbing it. And as you guys continue higher and higher, eventually reaching the massive archway, you can see much smaller now, but there are engravings still within the wall here before you. It says, shape is but memory in the shifting sands, written in bone, but rewritten in will. Only the one who changes like the sands may enter. Rise to new heights to reach the depths of power.
Can you read that one more time?
Anyway, you could copy and paste that onto the MOONBEAM chat.
For sure. So just as an added reminder there, shape is but memory in the shifting sands,
Mm-hmm.
written in bone, rewritten in will. Only the one who changes like the sands may enter. Rise to new heights to reach the depths of power.
Rise to new heights to reach the depths of power.
Changing like the sands. I mean, Rodrick changes.
Yeah, you can
Cleave
change your form.
changes.
But it seems like it's saying you must become larger.
Its shape is like the sand.
It's a doorway?
It looks like it was at some point, and at this moment, it's just stone.
I'll just give like a one-armed gorilla chest beat. and I'll just start making my way over to the thing, and I want to put my hands to the wall and see if I can give that another push.
Okay. Yeah, make a strength check for me.
Did you post the riddle
Less.
somewhere?
It's 8.
Okay. 8.
What is your
You
strength
go
as a
to
gorilla?
push into it, and
Athletics is +5.
it feels like you're just pressing against a wall.
I'm gonna go to assist them, see if I can help, but obviously it's gonna falter. Is there? But you could definitely tell this is different than, like, does it have different stones than the stones around it, or
No, it looks identical. It almost looks like if it was closed off, it might as well have been closed off at the same time this archway was created, as though it's all just
Yeah, okay.
one regular mass all throughout.
All right, after I go and try my feeble attempt, I'm gonna turn to Arlyn and Rodrick, and it looks like a door, but it might not be, unless there's some magical way to get in. It says reach new heights. So is there any way to keep crawling higher?
So above you is still the peak of this pyramid, where you can see that the stone does kind of come up to a near pointed stop, but instead is slightly kind of flattened at the very, very tip there.
May I attempt?
You're gonna start trying to climb it? Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna attempt. I don't know what it looks like exactly.
Make
but
an athletics check at disadvantage because it is sloped and still very large.
I was gonna say,
Ooh,
I'm gonna give
hey.
it a push. Yeah.
come help me up, please.
Very good.
You said strength check at disadvantage, or no? Still at disadvantage? with it?
No, not
Okay.
any longer.
Okay. 16.
16. Okay. It's not easy, and it takes a good bit of Cleave kind of grabbing at the archway and kind of pushing you halfway up, before you're able to slowly start finding footholds and kind of jumping one to the next, and eventually reaching the very pinnacle of this pyramid, where you do see that within that flattened base of a peak, there is definitely a perfectly carved out square opening that seems to peek right into the darkness within this pyramid. Do you have dark vision?
Buried in. So still hear nothing, right?
Correct.
When I look around, do I see over into like the water area, or is it still all enclosed in it's all
those
enclosed?
walls are high.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey guys, I see a little opening here, but none of us are small enough to get in.
Oh, is that what you said it was? Was that
Yeah,
The
it's very small.
square. Yeah.
Well,
What, like a 6 inches by 6 inches?
Just about, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna climb my way up towards them too.
Cool. Make an athletics check.
I have a full-on climb speed. Does that make a difference?
Oh, yes, absolutely it does. You're good.
Okay.
I'm gonna also look into my inventory, and do I still have my potion of shrinking?
Very well, then.
Can I feel the opening and inspect it?
Yeah, for sure.
See
Make
if
an
there's
investigation check.
The opening at the top?
18.
18 at the doorway, right?
Mhm.
Okay. At first glance, it is as I had said previously, yet as you start to kind of feel around the kind of outer portions of this archway, you recognize that there is just a hint of space around where clearly these stones were carved to look as though they blend in with the ones beside it, but that there is in fact some sort of doorway here.
I'm gonna push in, or attempt to push whatever seems like it was carved differently.
As you start to feel around, you start pushing and you recognize, first and foremost, these stones are heavy. Second, as you kind of glance around the sides now, kind of getting a better sense of what is kind of occurring in this moment, you start to take a closer look at the edges where you can see now the signs of wear and tear, and you can see where the slight frilling of this stone from this, we'll say, doorway are kind of jutting outward and upward as though this door had come from above previously.
Okay. It seems like the door can be lifted.
Lifted? Like, the stone door can be lifted?
The door comes from above. It doesn't open inward.
Well, don't you
It
guys want to
opens
see what's inside here
upward.
first?
I'm gonna get up to you and pull up a torch.
Cool.
You're just telling him to light it, basically? Since
Cool.
you're a gorilla without any matches or anything?
So I will light it, and this is a perfect opportunity too to use my cantrip. So I'm gonna
Still got
grab
it.
this torch, light it. I'm gonna hold it into the
That'd be a sick new focus, actually.
Crazy.
temple or whatever, and then I'm gonna use control flames
Nice.
to
Whoa.
expand the flame in one direction inside, so I can light it up more.
I'm
That's what makes it
gonna
beautiful.
instinctually back up.
You're way away from where I'm at.
He's out of the way of the
I
pinnacle
put
at
the
the
flame
top.
into the temple
okay.
and I'm expanding it so I can see
Very
There's a
cool.
little hole at the very peak.
more.
You can tell that this
Could we feel the
room,
heat?
You,
not from where you're at. No.
you're good,
Okay,
dude.
Like,
Don't
I'm
worry.
down there with Rodrick.
This room isn't quite where they seem to be pressing towards, but rather,
Dang, if he was
as you
awake
look
during that,
downward,
it would've been good.
you can now see that there is one singular platform at the base of this room, surrounded by what
We
just
needed
looks
him
like one flattened platform of earth, is a carved stone platform that almost kind of juts upward at each angle, 4 different carvings into one flat top that clearly extends below this floor. And etched into this, I'll say platform again, despite the redundancy, is the form of what appears to be some sort of buffalo or bison.
So it's like a shrine, like in a temple, that leads to a bison or buffalo?
Make an intelligence check.
Okay. Let's see. 16 plus 2, so 18.
No.
No.
It is, from everything you've read about in all of your travels and in all of your hopes towards the future and everything that you've wanted as you've now come out to pursue your goal of becoming an adventurer, the epitome of a trap platform, if you will, that would most likely require some sort of pressure or otherwise as a pressure plate.
Gotcha. I'm going to scoot down to where you guys are and explain all of that to you. Hey guys, this is going in a different place. This doorway, that square is leading to what looks like a trap. So I don't think we should go down that way.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Any advancing on how to figure this thing out?
Rodrick says that there is a bit of a slight opening where this door was, I guess, inputted. And he does say the door comes from above. Maybe we try and lift it.
The door comes from above.
I'm assuming this is the door closed.
Okay.
Maybe as a group.
How are we
try
gonna
and
get
lift.
How are we gonna get our fingers under it?
I was gonna ask, yeah, is it? Are we able to like get anything underneath it? Like,
It seems
wedge or
otherwise
fingers?
pretty much like completely sealed shut there.
How about we try to blow through it?
Are there graspable like bricks? Like can you
No,
grasp
it's
it?
pretty solid with the exception of like, when I tell you like less than the curve on the edge of my phone for the bricks,
Okay.
it's otherwise perfectly sealed.
How about we try to blow through it?
It's sealed.
On the other hand, this is an ancient temple thing, pyramid
I
thing.
pull out my mace. I'm just like,
hold on, Cleave.
Really?
Hold on. If anyone's gonna try to blow through it, it's gonna be Arlyn.
Why do you say that?
You gotta try your new lightning thing. Is it just a sword, or?
Well, I don't know. It's a javelin of some sort. I feel like we will alert a lot.
tell you what.
Alert anything that is creeping in the area.
Huh. What was that riddle again?
I read it again.
Reach the depths.
Shape is but memory
Wait, where'd you send it?
in the
Shape is-
shifting sands. Written in bone, rewritten in will. Only the one who changes like the sands may enter. Rise to new heights to reach the depths of power. That sounds like Cleave to me.
What if it's not a trap? What if it's a trigger? What if someone has to change shape, go to the height, to the depths, go down onto the trigger platform
the door.
to open the door for everybody else?
But would we be willing to risk that?
I mean, we could, I guess, throw a rock or something down there. Do we see any rocks anywhere?
None, surprisingly.
None. Surprisingly.
Beautifully said.
I don't know. I have a good feeling about this. I think we should try.
Start
If
looking
only we
through my
had a
bag.
small animal.
I have an
could
iron
fit.
pot in my
He
bag.
hangs his head
That
and
would
starts climbing
undoubtedly
the
be far
ziggurat.
too large to fit in there.
Ooh. Okay.
You said Cleave does what?
Hangs his head and then goes to climb the ziggurat.
Very good. Okay.
Mopes his way up. Can I become a flying squirrel, or does that technically have a fly speed? What's the rules here?
I don't believe it does.
I mean, there is. I don't think there's a stat block for it, but
You know, it'd be really cool.
just to be able to glide down safely.
Well, normal squirrels don't take fall damage anyway, so.
True.
So I can still be a
snakes?
flying squirrel, or no?
Do snakes take fall
Sure,
damage?
in this instance. Doesn't mean you're good at with your little flappies.
All right.
Do
I'm
snakes?
a beginner flappy guy.
They're a flying
Cleave,
snake.
What about a flying snake?
what if
I don't know
what
I
if
can do
you
that.
gust wind into the opening and see if you can trigger the trap?
Oh, it's about like 150.
For just the height?
Yeah, where I saw the trigger plate
Um,
or trap. Could
The
be trap.
peak of the pyramid is probably a good like 75 feet above, depending. It's like 50 feet high, but like 75 feet total if you count, the angle. Down from that is honestly maybe only like 15-ish feet.
Okay. So it looks about 100 feet. I don't know. Can you gust that far?
Unfortunately, no.
No. Well, I could lightning bolt down there. Not lightning bolt. Fire bolt down there. Sorry, I almost took your thing.
You can definitely
But-
try that.
But
possibly.
again, trying to stay to the riddle,
Yes.
I think it's got to be a person. I think it's got to be somebody that changes. Someone with
Yes.
bone that changes like the sand, that reaches a height to get to the depths of power.
Again.
Or I could be completely wrong, guys, and Cleave could no longer be with us today. So,
At that, I transform back into Cleave and then into a flying squirrel. You just see me like pop up.
Fantastic.
all right. Are you sure, Cleave?
I'm in there.
Squeak,
I'm in the
squeaky?
whole-
Okay.
And you just plop onto this massive now for you platform that is I guess in D&D terms the size of like a large creature around you.
Okay.
I hope
Look
he's
around.
okay in there.
Is it dark in there?
It's pitch black, but
Alright.
you did get a pretty good visual from above already.
I'm
so
gonna
you
try to
you
step
get
off the
general
thing
sense.
first,
Okay.
and then become Cleave again, so that I can have access to torches again.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Access to what?
Torches.
So like yeah, to my stuff, to
Ah.
torches, and then I'm gonna light it up
Fantastic.
so I can look around.
Um,
Actually, as Cleave, I can in general see better, but I'll still put on the torch.
surprisingly enough, there's nothing else to this room.
It's just that thing.
It's just that.
No windows, no doors.
Nothing at all.
I'm gonna stand on it.
Cool. As you do so, you go to stand on it, and it's solid. It just seems like stone.
Lovely.
I will die in here. Here.
Try to jump. Jump.
I had to have been able to turn back into something big. You're all gonna have to give me an hour.
Oh man.
Do we have?
Hour. We have an hour.
I don't think we have an. I mean, there is no one here, so I guess we have an hour. Are you okay, Cleave? Is there anything else? No?
Keep looking around. Nah.
What about below you? You see below you? Is there anything below? Is he on the bottom floor?
That's
like-
it. Yeah, that's all
Oh,
he's
wow.
got right there.
Do you see any
It's just-
skulls or bones or anything?
Just like a room.
I was wrong. I'm sorry. Now what, guys?
Now Cleave is stuck forever.
I was
guys did
wrong
it.
and we lost Cleave.
Do you all want to walk around, explore while I'm down here?
I suppose that we could.
Oh, well, that's a bummer. Really thought I had something there. Of course, I've never been good at riddles. My brother was always better at riddles than me. Guams. Wonder what he's doing.
All right.
All right. Very well.
Did you
then.
say you had the potion, Manny?
A potion of shrinking, it seems. Something that we were using to get away from
Yeah.
that town.
Do you think maybe 2 people need to go in? No. Just kidding. I don't know.
No.
What do you think, Rodrick? It didn't work.
I think we stop wasting our time and check somewhere else.
Well,
I'm gonna...
to be fair, things were a lot bigger when this was built. Maybe Cleave is just not big enough.
Maybe it needs more weight.
Well, I would say I'd take the shrinking potion, but that's not going to help for at least an hour. I can get in there, but I can't be big.
Yeah.
So maybe we wait and see if he can turn into an elephant, maybe?
He's like, I can't do that. I think in the meantime, while we wait, let's explore and see what else there is around here.
Okay.
I'm gonna start leading the way, and are these like pathways, or is it just the staircase? That's it.
For which?
Like, see if I can.
You mean like the
all this
like this
area.
left side over here? Those are flat ground, but that's it essentially.
Okay.
So those are like you'd have to like jump from the stairs to get to those points.
Gotcha.
Is there anything in particular that you guys would like to, I guess, investigate in this time while waiting out Cleave?
I suppose I'd like to make a round around the area. Maybe check out these these gates. It seems.
Okay.
From over here.
For sure.
Just kind of scope out our surroundings while we're having to wait anyways.
I'm going to inspect the pictures and stuff on the wall, see if it's all the same things being drawn over and over again, if it's all different, if we could find either of our types or anything like that.
Okay. And Rodrick?
I'm gonna check the eastern gate.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Well then, as you guys are all scoping out the area and kind of getting a better view of each aspect, I guess let me ask you, Joel, would you have any plans in this time and or once the hour is up?
I'm gonna just sit there patiently, once again brooding, and whenever it's done, I'm just trying to, like the whole time, I'm just trying to think of the biggest animal that I could turn into. That's doesn't seem like it's beyond the scope of strength of what my power could reach. Anything that I've seen.
Dinosaur. I'm just kidding.
I've seen the dinosaur, but I can't become that one.
Direwolf, maybe, I guess?
Direwolf is pretty big, pretty heavy. I imagine I might have seen some bears and definitely like draft animals, right? Like horses.
Yeah, for sure.
Decent chances on having seen like an actual draft horse.
Yeah,
Just like a
absolutely.
Big old, oh wait, or maybe something. What does he sell at the farm? Is it like buffalo or something?
Oh, yeah,
they've got buffalo, I believe.
Yeah. Well, unless the buffalo is like a high
Cattle
CR.
at large, but no, you should be good, I think.
Yeah, it'll become something like that.
Should
Some
be good. You
big
know what that
bulky-
means, guys.
In the meantime, I'm gonna be looking around, I guess, sort of realizing how small we are in the scheme of all this, and I'm going to try and reach out to Arendor and say, well, we're here. Now what? If we can get some direction, there's nothing else that we can think of doing.
Okay. Well then, as each of you now studies different aspects of this, taking your time to really kind of comb over every little detail and wandering about throughout the different sides of this, you're able to first see that each of these doorways is dedicated each to a different element. Each of
I
them
love this movie.
with the elements, hilarious,
Yes, I love this movie.
and with minor descriptions of each in front of them. So as you guys study those up, And Nick, with Calagon studying especially the creatures around these walls, it's interesting how many of these seem to fit in with others, and yet there are very few that stand out from the crowd. Some that almost look like children's drawings etched into the walls of this great bastion for some reason. And as you guys are continuing your studies of this place, two of you now directly approaching two of these sides, and one of you now kind of back at the base here, eventually calling out to Arryn. Well, we're here. Finally kind of questioning it. You hear now this loud scraping of stone as now you watch now as this wave of air just pulses from the entire pyramid. And from its peak, you watch as these four walls start to crash down as though sliding inward. And Calagon, where you're seeing this massive serpentine creature overhead with these bladed teeth looking down on you almost, you watch now as the stone doorway begins to rise, drawing your attention upward toward this massive buffalo standing atop the peak of this now Ziggurat formation. And with it, this pulsating continues on.
Not a
where
live one, right?
this air, this force starts to push out from this space, it's as though it's coming from beneath the doorways for each of them and directly from the doorway you're standing in front of. And as you call out to Arryn, it's as though in that moment you hear, but better yet, you feel the response, as now each and every single one of you understands and feels the depth of power that you've all just released. Go ahead and level up while we take our 10-minute break.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's crazy.
Praise Jesus. That's amazing. Let's
We're
go.
level 3, guys.
Let's
level
go.
3, you get your everything.
Welcome to the bastion!
We
We
have
get
all our-
everything
we have all
now.
our stuff.
Level 3
Oh,
is
man.
dope.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
For sure.
Oh,
Everyone
man.
gets the
So
beginnings
much
of
work to
something.
do
One
now.
of those two
Yikes.
This is
Oh
crazy.
man, well,
Alright.
I'm excited to see what everybody starts to pull together, as now they have officially opened the Ziggurat, their very first
Let's go,
bastion.
our first
With
bastion.
that being said, we will be right back here with you guys shortly.
Love it. See you
Got
guys
a
soon.
lot of work to do.
Alrighty, welcome back, level 3 adventurers! So, with that, now having opened up this bastion, now that you understand to be known as the Ziggurat, you guys feel this pulsating of power as though this bastion itself has a heartbeat. It's as though it was trapped inside, struggling to escape, and you guys can only now feel it for the first time as though beating within your own chests. And with it, you feel a surge of power, and you each come to the understanding individually that this power that you are granted from the dragon some time ago blessed you not only to take on the power of the dragon himself, but you guys now uniquely understand that there is an aspect about you that for whatever reason seems to have attuned, if you will, to this bastion, absorbing power from it directly. As it now opens, this first primary gate kind of crashing upward in front of Calagon's eyes, as now Cleave stands above at the pinnacle. At the sides, each of you guys were able to see that within these doorways, aside from the primary, each of them is dedicated to different elements, if you will. One states, that which forms us, and above it, it shows Earth, with a symbol all its own. And it says, bone, skin, and shell, the shape we must shatter to grow. And this is the one specifically that Rodrick is standing before, over at the east entrance, currently. To the west, instead, water. That which fills us, flowing, shifting, adapting. The pulse we must surrender to cleanse. And, of course, y'all's personal favorites at the north entrance. Fire. That which drives us. Energy to expression. The waste we must burn to rise stronger. And as this doorway opens up in front of you, Calagon, you alone uniquely can see that etched within this circular base, within this final room, instead, is one final symbol. And it says, Ether. That which binds us. The unseen thread between all forms. The tether we must loose to reshape.
Tether we must loose to reshape.
Now, as this wall comes down loosely, I'll say, in front of you, you can see now the direct appearance of different engravings, different kind of scattered writings within this wall of this area. In each of the corners, you do see these other, on each other wall, you do see these different symbols, much like the doorways below them. And on this back wall, it's almost like somebody left instructions. Carved in common, it reads, each bastion is more than a fortress. Each is made up of multiple parts. Bastion, Guardian, Key, Dreadnought, and its place of power. Taking the key from behind the waterfall will pass on my power to a new Guardian, thus releasing this place's transformative power to what it once was. The power of this weapon cannot be taken by force, only freely given. Pass the trials and showcase your ability to command transformation, to claim it as your own, and become the new Guardian of the Ziggurat. or to choose its successor wisely. The trials are not easy, nor are they fair. Don't expect them to be. And then you see where there is clearly written out what almost seems like a name, and it's scratched out. And then there's a second one, also scratched out, and behind them you can loosely read the words, first Charybdis, followed by 2 words, Earthworm James, and then finally below it,
Amazing.
Piranha.
Amazing.
And where it states this, it says Piranha in entirely different handwriting than what the rest is carved into. Where it says this, it says Piranha is one of very few that is still active. It may not take well to anything other than its own kind. To have made it inside means you've shown that you're suited to continue, but proceed with great caution. Simply choose your trial by selecting the corresponding symbol on either wall. You cannot continue below until each has been completed, and once booted from a floor, you cannot return. This will continue to be the case on lower floors. You will no longer get a second chance. Guardians bear a great responsibility. As such, only one will be allowed to enter each trial at a time. Overcome each, as each is required to transform them into something greater within yourself. And then finally, at the floor, kind of roughly scratched into the wall, you can see now this kind of tagline, as though kind of stating who wrote it. And it says, The Green Guardian, Ardennis Wastri. And Ardennis Wastri, you can see, is that same handwriting of whoever wrote Piranha above. And then just behind that, there is, in that same handwriting again, a slight little excerpt that kind of steals from the monumental feeling of the rest of this, the gravity of this, if you will, where it says, P.S. Only kidding, I borrowed Piranha.
Oh my gosh.
That was a lot to unpack.
I have so much meta knowledge.
That
Oh, you do?
There's a lot of crossover from the home game.
really.
Yeah.
So
Joel doesn't understand how he has affected this world in our home game, and it's great.
No way.
This is gonna be
So it
much
sounds
further.
like those are a list of guardians, right? And then Piranha guy was the last guardian, but they took him?
No.
Or the guy
It
was the
seems
guardian-
like these are trials.
So the
Each
people
one of
that
these
tried to go through these trials,
trials.
and they got crossed out as they failed?
So it shows Charybdis crossed out, Earthworm James crossed out, Piranha is one of very few that is still active. It may not take well to anything other than its own kind.
It makes no sense.
I don't know. What do I do here, guys? My brain hurts.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not very intelligent here.
is it just me? We're all here?
It's
reading
just
this?
you currently at the entryway, but everybody else would immediately recognize, like, okay, we just heard that. You all look up, see the same thing as he just saw with Cleave up there, and you
Yeah.
can see Cleave now looking down at Calagon, who's just like kind of scoping out the area inside.
We all heard what? Him reading that out loud?
No, just the walls
The
all crashing and
opening
you're
up.
coming down and gate entry and all that stuff going on.
So
I'm gonna say, what
they
was
run in.
that noise?
Whose footprints are these? Sorry.
Guys, it's a test.
Did it work?
It's a test.
I can't hear you.
It's a
Calagon.
test, Arlyn. We have to go through trials to find a guardian for the Bastion. No,
Go
not
through.
we. Only one.
Huh.
Read it. Look, read.
I'm going to.
Clear as day, guys.
I'm gonna start running. I'm running, trying to get up there again to where he was.
Okay.
Do I feel drawn to anyone of those specifically, or
need, like,
Not
all this
against
written
your
down.
own will, no.
I need like all of this written down.
Yeah, 100%.
I will send that to you guys. Yeah. Last one I sent to Manny over Messenger. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do that again, just so that I at least
posted
have it
that
on my
on
phone.
Moonbeam.
But please post it to Moonbeam and or Discord or, whatever is most comfortable to you. As for the other two, Cleave, you are still in that kind of. Now it's just a platform above. And the compressed button, if you will, just kind of flattens to shape with the rest of the earth. And it's only the symbol carved in below your feet.
I'm gonna cautiously start taking steps off of it, see if it pops it back up.
It does not.
All right, cool. Start walking around,
Very good.
reading scribbles on the walls with my buffalo eyes.
Just jumping down from there and just kind of riding the wall.
Are we all together now?
Riding the wall?
Because you're still in the platform above that room.
I thought you said it was flat.
That is flat now. That's just the peak of the ziggurat. You're just on the roof now. You're just standing on the roof, like a cow on the roof of a barn. He is in the room just below you.
Okay, so there's pillars holding it up?
No, it's literally just he goes into a room here. You are just on the top of the ziggurat, just standing at the very top.
Would I have to get out of the ziggurat and climb
You
back
just have
around?
to there's just the flat wall, and then there's the archway below your feet, basically.
Oh, okay, so I can get that. Okay. As a buffalo, probably not the smart move. Then I'll unbuffalo
Cool.
and I'll climb
You
down.
unbuffalo and climb back down then. Very well then.
So
Alright.
to start these trials,
are we all together now?
reiterate how to do that. Just
You run back.
pick one
Essentially, yeah.
and walk
Yeah, I
through a.
suppose we all
So
ran
it
back.
says, simply choose your trial by selecting the corresponding symbol on the wall.
And by symbol, it means the element.
Correct.
So aether, earth, water, or fire. Correct?
That is correct.
Well, I would say you would be. Well, Cleave would be better with Earth, right?
Or
I don't know.
aether.
Aether? I don't even know what that is.
I mean, was there a description?
It's the.
What you had explained?
It's the Force, pretty much.
Or would we know?
It is the Force. That which binds us. The unseen thread
Force.
between all forms. The tether we must loose to reshape.
Maybe.
I
The
feel like
only one that has the ability to physically reshape is Cleave.
Each of them did have an aspect of
Not anymore.
transformation
But-
to their descriptions, I'll say.
I do feel attuned with sort of the earth in general. That's true, but in terms of gifts given me by Erendor, water seems like a good place to start.
Okay. I would say we keep Rodrick away from the fire, and maybe you get Earth.
I'd like to keep us all away from fire for a while.
You are an elf. They seem to be in tune with the Earth and the world we live
Oh, are
in.
we all gonna do different ones? Oh, then maybe
I
you're
believe
water.
only one can
Water.
enter.
Water.
Do you have experience with Earth?
Well, that leaves fire and ether. I think we know which one we're gonna pick.
Give me fire.
Rodrick.
Give me fire.
What do you guys think? We gotta play to our strengths, Rodrick.
Give me fire.
I don't see anybody else more suited. I feel like we
Well,
are
you're the
all
next
equally
torch.
unworthy of it.
Well, we need to understand that we are also possibly fighting the elements we are choosing. So just because you're more adept in the water and I'm more adept with fire, my fire won't fight fire very well. So maybe we should
I always heard that's like the way you're supposed to do it.
fight fire with. I've never heard that. That must be a new saying.
Write it
But-
down in your book.
I'll write it down. I don't have a book, but
Wait, you still have your book?
yeah, kind of, yeah.
I mean, kind of.
It's burnt to a crisp, I'm assuming.
You would think. It's
Okay.
untouched.
Untouched. I knew
Oh,
it. As
Yeah,
well.
that thing is more powerful than you think.
All right, writing it down then.
If I die, let it take me. It tried once and it failed.
Very well.
Well, I'm okay with fighting water or earth. Or I think you should probably take ether.
I'm gonna cup my hands and then just like unveil another handful of good berries.
I feel energized. I didn't think I'd be able to do that.
And I'm gonna hand out good berries. I'll give 2 to each of you.
Cool.
Who's going first?
Oh, I thought we were all going at the same time. But that's probably smart, maybe, to go one at a time. Or should we just all go and hope for the best?
Tristan, tell us what he wants to do. Are we supposed to go at the same time?
It's entirely up to you guys. If there are 4 trials, there's enough trials, which oddly enough was designed just like for this bastion, just completely by coincidence. That one was not specifically like catered to you guys necessarily, but like yeah, you guys can absolutely do all 4 at the same exact time if you'd like.
I think we should enter at the same time.
Okay. So, fire, water, earth,
Ether.
ether.
Do you feel comfortable? Do you want to trade?
Do you feel better with water?
I always feel better with water.
But again,
I'll do that one.
would you feel better attacking in water or a water object?
I mean,
That's what lightning attacking water, I guess, would be good, right?
well, definitely feel more energized in water.
Maybe.
But I don't know if I necessarily affect it. Or do I channel it? I
So
don't know.
are we gonna pick we're most comfortable with, or what is most effective to fight against?
I'll do ether.
So you didn't mind doing either one of them?
I'll just stop.
I'm glad you caught it.
Stop, Joel.
This guy is constant.
Yes, that's like how I feel too. Yeah, I'll do either.
So
All
we
right.
have fire. Which one are you doing, Calagon, again?
I guess earth.
Earth.
I would feel more comfortable with either ether or earth. So, if you want water and you want fire and you prefer ether, then I guess I'm earth. It's settled. It's decided.
I suppose.
Well, here we
Here
go.
I
Everybody's
suppose,
gonna
I
die.
think. Yeah. We're gonna
As each
die.
of you guys now puts your hands to each of these sides.
Wait, if we're all going at the same time,
Yeah.
I give 1 more good berry to Calagon and 1 more to Rodrick, and Arlyn just gets left out.
I'll have 2. That's fine. I have my own healing pool.
There you go. Okay. As you guys each touch
15
these
now.
walls, and for you, Arlyn, the floor where you see this symbol centered within this circle, around the ring surrounding that diamond, if you will, this like circular stone like relief, it says now, as it starts to reshape, death awaits all who enter. Shed each skin and take up its mantle, that even in death you would grow stronger. And you all watch now as this starts kind of forming, as
around
though
my-
somebody's writing it around you.
Around me?
Yes, that like whole like circle around where you're currently like standing.
Each of us or just him?
Just him.
It's just surrounding that circle where he's standing.
Okay.
You watch now as the floor just gives way and almost vanishes in an instant, and it almost looks as though a portal instead appears and completely just consumes Arlyn, as it now just goes back to what it looked like a moment prior. And each of you guys now hear as the rumbling starts to get louder and louder, as now every side of the ziggurat is shaking. And you take it that these doors now are all open. And
So I can move forward?
Yeah, for sure.
We all move forward, right?
Well, not forward, but the doors from outside, I meant to say. So his gate was the one at the, just in the floor. Yours are all within your respective sides of this ziggurat.
All right, I work my way around. Go outside.
Alrighty. Then eventually, each of you guys making your way over.
Do you take a torch from me?
David?
No.
You reject it?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I took one.
I don't need a torch.
Yeah,
I can
who
see
needs
in
that
the dark.
garbage?
Well, you're in the fire. That was the...
I don't need a torch.
I may go back over these next week, but I'll start then first with Manny. Arlyn, as you fall slowly into the chamber below, a hush falls across the air where not even your friends' voices seem to make it past. And as you look up, where there should be a ceiling from what you just saw, instead is darkness. This hush is no natural silence, but rather one of this almost weightless power, this presence that surrounds you, where you can see that although looking down and falling in slow motion, seemingly, there are moving parts all around, directly below you, and where each part is moving, each one of them is still somehow isolated from the next, and yet in that completely silent. Below you lies a vast, glowing stream of soft, purple light, suspended between jagged stone ledges that are made up of blackened stone of some sort. This river, this stream, if you will, seems to be flowing with this plasma that kind of flows very slowly and unnaturally, as if being pulled forward, but not in any way that is fluid like what you would expect, but rather instead it almost seems like it's being forced forward, as though it's being pulled. And with that, as you look down below you, you can see now these chunks of rock that are rising and falling, each of them going in these slow spirals, slowly jutting out above this stream surface, and then dropping back downward as they crumble into powder. Others compacting so tightly that they begin to turn into fresh stone. And as they continue to, I guess coagulate is the word that comes to mind, they start shifting and making their way as different kind of aspects of the corners of what make up the ledges of this stream, and then slowly breaking off and going back in, and repeating that process in this never-ending flow of creation and destruction of stone, each being weighed down by whatever this mass is inside. It's beautiful, but clearly dangerous. These floating platforms that span the abyss are in different precarious paths, but seemingly taking the same routes. Yet their shapes are never quite the same each time they reform. To the south is a hallway with a long, dark abyss with the inscription, "Those weak enough to give up must first take on another life, or give up their own and return as dust."
I'm gonna die.
I'm glad I got Earth.
I'm
I
gonna
think.
I
die.
think... out of character. I'm not actually in character. that I was probably just supposed to do all these.
You think you were supposed to do all of these?
It's a very interesting proposition in a way. Let me continue in just brief for a moment here. On the far north end of the room is a great carved doorway, veiled in a faint violet mist. It's flanked by different reliefs of shifting letters that, upon looking at them, rearrange themselves to be legible to you, specifically in Primordial, reading, "The weighted gates of Aether can only be pushed once made weightless. Face the one who guards this place to claim its form, and carry its gift to guide others. Become the form of that which you see. To do so, you must destroy the form that is, to take on what you must become." And as you read these words, they start to glow, and you watch as the energies now kind of sink back below, and pulling up with the plasma from the stream start to create this being floating below you, as you now start to almost feel this pressure coming from it as it now pushes you off to the side a little bit. And as it now exerts its presence, you can see this terrifying, still creature, if you will. Forming around this small object are all of these crushed fragments from within the river, as they all now continue to start pulling up and almost absorbing into this being. This being now made up of crushed stone and dissolved metal, which is held unnaturally still, as though by an invisible force, hovering, suspended in the air, as though bound by invisible threads. Its limbs start to form and then dissolve, taking on different shapes. First a hand, and then what looks almost like a spear coming out from it. And slowly crushing and crumbling back into its core, you watch now as almost kind of twisting and distorting. You look down, and as you're falling now, you can see this kind of faceted, blackened, chitin-like mask that is almost insectoid rather than humanoid in nature, staring directly at you, crafted clearly with otherwise impossible precision, and now pulsing with violet light. And as you move, you watch now as the space around this mask, now forming this figure, distorts, and you can see where literally the room behind where it is seems to distort in your vision as it now tracks you falling down to the ground. On the east side,
Wow.
things are a little bit different, obviously.
You should have just walked in there.
Yeah.
Remind me, who was going into Earth? Was it Calagon?
That is me, yep.
Fantastic. Stepping foot into the arid chamber causes dirt to fly up around you, as initially it is just black and formless, but the second you start to take step forward, you immediately feel like the air within your lungs begins to dry up. And you can hear now as the stone walls start to close in once again behind you. Before you are two long troughs carved into the ground, which are filled with sand. And between these two long troughs are 12 circular bowls dug into the ground, 6 of which, specifically, contain large stones.
How large?
Let's see if it'll load here, and you'll find out.
It's Moncala.
That's the Zelda. It's Monk. That was dope. It almost definitely actually is. That's really cool.
Carved around the elongated eastern pit are the words, "Earth is strong, unmoving, and simple. You must be stronger while remaining steadfast in the sand. Guardians must be able to stay in one place to defend. Move, and you fail. Guardians must also be able to attack while guarding their post. If the golems reach the other side, you've already failed in one respect. Once this occurs, if you leave your post, you may save yourself, but you will have killed your chances of becoming something greater. Stepping in means stepping up. To guard is to destroy. Be prepared.
These are all me.
Along the western pit are the words, "The path by which you travel may not always be seen, but change requires trust. Dig deep and you will find what you seek for that which you can become, once you have gained the power."
I got the easy one, guys.
Lovely. I have death
Yeah,
itself.
I don't know what you got.
On the north end
Okay. Yeah.
is, of course, our buddy Rodrick. As you ascend the last step, it's as though you keep climbing higher. And as this door opens to you, you can see more stairs. And stepping forward onto the first step, you climb, and it's as though nothing changes. Yet as you turn around, darkness. The air instantly turns hostile. And as you climb to the last step in the chamber, your lungs start fighting you for breath, even before you go to open your mouth. The moment your last foot passes the threshold, a deep crackling roar echoes from behind you, and the stairway itself starts to collapse, melting into fire below. Stone turns red hot, and molten glow seeps out from below, swallowing your only known way back. Etched above the smoking doorway behind you, nearly obscured by the rising of black smoke, reads the warning: "Fire is random, destructive, and unforgiving. It does not wait. It does not care. Burn or become worthy." Ahead of you, towering at the far north end of the chamber, is a massive statue of a salamander. Not the small lizard-like creature of common folk of the mundane world, but instead this is a massive elemental creature of legend, something that you guys have probably all heard of in passing, but certainly never seen in such clear light. And it is seemingly carved out from obsidian and gold. Its golden face particularly striking, gleaming through the rising heat, and you watch as twin plumes of smoke trail from its nostrils, a large stream of fire following from its open mouth. And with it, almost reaching to you, you can feel now a heat greater than what you had just experienced the night prior. With this rising heat, as you stand still in this narrow entryway, looking ahead of you, you can see now these 4 massive burning bowls carved into the blackened floor before you.
There's more.
Flanking this chamber are lesser statues, identical to the primary, yet slightly more humanoid otherwise, and much smaller, embedded into alcoves over these different lava flows and lower platforms. Their mouths are shut, but as you look around and feel the heat now start to dissipate from the primary salamander, you watch now as the jaws all begin to melt and fall open, and you watch now as each of these in turn begins to erupt with fire. Spread across the chamber's side platforms here, with them are multiple large metal barrels clearly standing out from the rest of the design here. About waist high, sealed top, the sides are all smooth, seamless, and very, very like shiny silver, yet seemingly soldered at the top, as though not of the same make as the rest of it. And etched into the golden base at the salamander's feet are the following words. The path forward will only open once all 4 flames are extinguished at the same time.
Whoa.
And finally,
Extinguished at the same time.
to the west, as you walk up the previously warm floors, Cleave, entering into the darkness much as these others have, it starts to change very rapidly as now the dry floors become wet floors. And specifically cold. And as darkness starts to find its way to some amount of light, the only thing that you can see within your vision are flecks of snow, slowly forming into a flurry, as you can feel these puddles begin to well up into something greater. With each step, you feel more and more water. And yet, finally, as you step out onto this final platform, the feeling of water at your feet subsides. But the cold begins to take over as it numbs your face. The first thing that you can now see is instead your own breath. And you can feel as the icy cold starts to take over, slowly chilling your body from the outside in. Clearly, not any form of terrain that you yourself are especially familiar with up until this point. You feel your feet begin to give way, sliding about on these slick floors, which you now recognize to be icy. They're all frozen over. And as you look around, it's immediately obvious that you are not the only creature in this room. As there are platforms all around you, slightly shifting with the ice, all floating on water below, but directly ahead of you, above these stairs here, is the clear form of a water elemental. Massive, terrifying, and defensive.
It's Arlyn's
A
dad.
plaque at the front of your platform currently states, "Like water, you must flow freely, shaping your path without bending to the expectation of others. As a guardian, you must learn when to ride the currents and when to carve your own course. Know when to fight, when to freeze, and when to force your way forward toward your purpose." And with that, we're going to pick back up right here next week.
Let's go.
It's gonna be
Man.
I'm gonna send you guys each of your room descriptions there,
cool.
and obviously you can see the maps here laid out.
Mhm.
But I'm very excited to see how each of you guys deals with these trials now, having chosen who takes each one.
Nice.
So wild.
Question: knowing what we know now, would we have switched?
I would have taken water.
You would have taken water. What
Yeah.
would you have gotten?
I would have done all of them.
You would have done all of them. You would have chosen, I will do all of them.
Joel's got a very clear, unique perspective on this whole situation in like 18 different ways. This is very fun to me. What you got, Joel? You wanna...
I feel like I would have
Is
went.
there anything that you'd like to expand on
Ethereal.
real quick before we close out
I'd
here?
like everybody to know that Cleave, one of Cleave's biggest mentors, was named Old Mama Green, and she's the Moncala champion of West Manshire.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Cleave, everybody.
That's a big one. That's a big one. For sure.
So you definitely should have done Earth.
Yep.
That is amazing. All right.
Oh,
I believe we are
no.
doing a live divine inspiration still. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did anybody
Correct.
come prepared? I don't ever remember the orders that are going throughout.
We,
I think
we have something
chose to
for
do
them.
something a little different.
Oh, okay, we are jumping straight in.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Very good, very good, very good. All right, then I'm going to intro that real fast. So I've, a few weeks, at this point, probably a couple months back, I introed the idea that maybe I would like to jump into a deep dive of each of the 10 commandments. And I did an overview, starting with just like these are the 2 greatest commandments. And I wanted to dive in on like exactly, the ins and outs of each one. So I'd like to start out with, we're in Exodus. Let's see. Give me 1 second. But yes, the first commandment is where I'd like to go. Let's see. Was it in Exodus or is it actually in Leviticus? I think it's in Exodus.
I think it's Exodus. Yeah.
Hang on a second.
There you go. Getting you guys set up here so you guys can see yourselves while he's doing that. You guys get to experience exactly what you're facing in there.
Wait, why is there 2 of me?
Let me get rid of that one
Yes.
there.
Part of the craziness, Arlyn.
I have to fight myself too.
If you're fighting death,
I
can see
very
the
well
elemental.
might be fighting myself.
Exodus 20,
Each of you guys
3.
has very unique roles here.
verse 3.
Crazy.
Wait, I did that completely wrong. No, I don't want to do this right now. All right. Exodus 20, you said?
Yep. Chapter 20, verse 3.
That's how numbers work. Very good. All right. I'll intro it from verse 1.
Mhm.
So, and God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. And then in verse 3 it says, you shall have no other gods before me. This is interesting because obviously we'll touch on this a little bit more when we jump in also to 2, but I wanted to go one by one because a lot of people have a hard time differentiating between commandments 1 and 2. It seems like it's kind of on the same note. But I guess we'll dive deeper into that next week. For now, this is a very particular, and I'm going to connect it back to the first time I talked about this. This is one of those laws that would fall under the first half of what Jesus said when they asked, what is the greatest of all the laws? And he said, the first is that you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the beginning of the part of the law that addresses that. The first thing, our first priority on this earth should be to love God. And it's, I mean, this is getting a little down the river a ways, but there is a misconception that loving people is the first thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as obviously that, it's still the second one. That's another
Still
is like it, right?
Yeah.
That's important, but God's your first priority. And
100%.
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing that I've learned more and more as I've gotten older. That and I'm old.
Yeah, okay.
Is that
I think I'm the oldest one here.
you would think that somebody loving God, putting somebody before you, would leave less room for them to love you. But I have found that the more you love God, the more room you have to love, the more capacity you have to love. So if you love God first and you put no other God before him, and there's nothing else that you're worshiping before God, your ability to now love people through the roof. It's absolutely, I've never been
100%.
loved
Yeah.
by anyone more fully, more holy than by somebody who really loves God.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Actually, in moments that I've been doing marital advice for somebody going through situations, actually, there was a situation that we had where we had a friend and her husband went and out of nowhere, unknowingly, just found out that he had been having an affair for years and left the little kids and the wife and everything like that. She had been asking me about how to, I guess, for him to come back, trying everything for him to come back. And
Okay.
and we talked about their relationship and whatnot, and she was saying that she was, really big into God, but hasn't really been going to church and all that stuff. And I asked her, I was like, well, what is the kind of what is your relationship built upon? Because there is nothing harder than to convince a man to come back that has no love and respect for God.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your relationship is not built upon the foundation of God, it is just as easy to go find love somewhere else as it is to find love with you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want to repair the situation that you guys had, which unfortunately, or who knows, fortunately I guess for her, it wasn't repaired because he went off. the first step is for both of you to acknowledge that God is the center of your relationship.
Yeah.
Because the love that you have for somebody is going to fail.
Yeah.
We're all human.
Yep.
And it's very easy for you to have love for somebody and for it to feel like it's fading over time, and then somebody new comes along and the emotion kind of plays into it, and it's very easy for you to just go to that other thing. But it's the love for God that keeps you from becoming confused
Yeah.
in your love for other people.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, and that's been the main pinnacle of me and my wife's relationship that keeps us extremely grounded. And it's just that at the end of the day, we're both focused on God. She knows that she can follow me as a man and as the head of my household, specifically because I am looking towards God.
Amen, dude. That's
You're
great.
following, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
and
way.
only because of that, because that's the only thing that would make me a man worth even following.
Yeah. It was tough first having my first child and stuff, and having that dynamic of because like you said, loving God increases your capacity to love. Well, I think children also do that in a sense. Having a child and knowing the love of a child increases your capacity to love. But I mean, man, and what you said about relationships, having God being your firm foundation of the relationship, and he should be a foundation of everything you do, and that's seeking God in everything you do creates a firm foundation for anything to happen. And by seeking him, that pretty much means reading your Bible, learning more about his teachings, and yeah, man, I understand that he says you should have no other gods before me, and in the context of Exodus, I feel like they're thinking like, oh well, other gods, and this is where you're trying
Literal
to do the difference between the first and the second, where it's not like idols and things that you
Right.
cherish, it's gods. So but I can't really say anything much more better than what you guys said. Yeah.
And what's crazy is imagine if God is the fountain of love, God is love, and his love pours out from him to us. Imagine utilizing that love that pours out from God without acknowledging where the love even comes from.
Yeah.
Because if not for God and the way that he created us through love, there would be no love for us to even have for each other, for us to have for our wives. Everything exemplifies the love that God has for
Yeah.
his people.
And it's a perfect foundation to start with, because everything else is going to flow from that. You put God first, that sets your standard for why you're following 2 through 10, right? Like that's your whole thing. There's also a great apologetics angle here, where you may have heard this before, but for those of you who haven't, it's very common in basically all the other world religions to say, my religion, but also, Jesus was another way that you can go. Like Islam recognizes Jesus. Hinduism says that he reached enlightenment, and Buddhism does. And what is it like? I won't keep. But the idea is that like a lot of people, spiritualists, whatever, like will say, yeah, like many ways up the mountain, and Jesus is one of them. This is a really good thing to be able to point to right away and say like, hey, the first thing you're commanded, the very first one, nothing else. So anybody that says Jesus and you just go to Jesus and you find what's the first thing that our God actually says, and it's like nothing else. You put nothing else before me.
I like that phrasing, especially with like our God, because God does specifically acknowledge gods of different sorts too. And so the differentiator between the first and second commandments specifically that I'd like to make is that the second commandment talks about carved images. That could be of anything, even of our understanding of what God would look like. Yet the first says, you shall have no other gods before me, at which God recognizes at multiple points throughout the Bible that other things are considered gods by man. Again, I mean, I mentioned last week where like Zeus and Hermes are acknowledged by men. We obviously know that Pharaoh not only served gods, but pharaohs would actually claim godhood. At which point God does confirm at some point that he even calls man a form of God in that essence, as far as like, are you not gods in your own right? In that way, you have people worshiping you, you have all this stuff going on, and they're claiming godhood, they're claiming power. And in truth, we see through modern technology that in some ways, people act as gods to other people at times throughout history. We've seen that with the Native Americans. We've seen that with all sorts of different tribes throughout human history. And so we see that humans not only can be made out to be gods by other people, but they will sometimes claim it for themselves and try to be that other god. And yet sometimes still it can be a thing. It can be an image. It can be a person that we love, that we so worship, that we give everything to instead. And so it's very easy to make other things out to be gods in essence.
Yeah, I was gonna pinpoint on that a little bit, where especially nowadays, like someone who doesn't know like church lingo, for example, right? They're talking about like, well, gods, you know, like I get it, you know, but you know, now we don't have like these ancient gods anymore, or blah blah blah, or you know.
There's other religions, but
I know you mean. Correct. But I also feel like it. Aside from that, I mean, there's I think a vast majority that don't even adopt to a religion. Period.
Yeah.
Right?
Very
And
few
so,
are pantheistic at this point. So
Yeah,
it's
and
rare that
so-
you get like.
So it's a
gods.
matter of also understanding that a god to a person could be anything that takes the top of your priority list, right? Whether it's yourself, whether it's your spouse, your partner, whether it's
Money.
attention, money, whether it's you know, like literally anything. It could be anything where you are putting above the priority to seek out God and to build that relationship with God. And so it applies to every person, you know, and every generation.
Yeah.
And it will apply forever, you know, because as long as we're putting God above anything else, you know, everything else will fall into place. Will fall into place. I wanted to also touch a little bit on what we mentioned about feeling like you can pinpoint all your love towards something and not being able to then reciprocate that love to like others or anything because you're focusing all your love on that. I have a very, very brief testimony on that, right? Where it has to do with just the ability that the growth of love, right? And you said children, right? And so one of our big things with me and my wife for a little bit was going back and forth on our ability to love two children the same way that we were able to focus our love on one child without neglect coming into the picture or without, you know what I mean, like those other things. And I did a whole devo on that actually that I brought to church, and basically that we're called to love our children the way God loves us as well. And I can promise you, just like you said, I mean, you have multiple children, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because you truly will convince yourself, I can't split my love between these two things, right? But it doesn't make sense that I forgot what it was, the verses, and we'll leave that for another divine inspiration that I used, but like the love of God makes no sense whatsoever. It even says like what's that verse? The
foolishness of God is greater than the wisdom of man?
No, that. Oh man, I'm gonna have to look it up. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to look it up. But basically, yeah, like although you can convince yourself that you can't, you know, you are able to expand your love if it's pointed in the right place, right? And focusing it on God will allow you to reflect the love of God with everybody else and everything else, you know?
Yeah.
And while somebody else takes it, I'm going to look that up real quick.
I could dunk on Zeus a little bit more. So I'm thinking to add on to like this concept that like Tristan's been toying with that like Zeus basically is literally the devil, like, right? Like that he was him. I'm just seeing like more and more parallels. I've been taking in a lot of like
There's a lot.
Roman and Greek I don't know content recently, inspired content, and just the idea that, so first of all, like Aramaic, Hebrew, whatever, like King of Kings, Lord of Lords, like that's like Elohim of Elohims, like God of gods, actually is like another way to say that, which is a title that Zeus claims. But Zeus claims this title after having defeated his father.
Yep, that's the big one.
Right. So like this idea that it's like, oh, I would defeat my father who created me and created everything else, and then became the God of gods. That's a very the devil claim to make. You know, that's something
It's
he
like
would
the
say.
most. Yeah.
Found it, by the way.
There you go.
Found it. So Ephesians 3:14 through 19.
Okay.
This is the New King James Version. It says, "For this reason I bow my knees to the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, from whom the whole family in heaven and earth is named, and he would grant you, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with might through his Spirit in the inner man, that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the width and length and depth and height, to know the love of Christ which passes knowledge, with, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God." It will never make sense to us. I don't think we have the capacity.
Yeah. A lot
to
of things.
understand the love
A
of
lot
God.
of times when I hear about people coming to the church and trying it out for the first time and stuff, I hear the term hardened heart a lot. And I mean, I remember when I first invited Christ into my life and into my heart, and just the softening, like, it's a perfect way to describe it, because before, my capacity to love was almost non-existent. I thought I loved things, I thought I liked things, but it wasn't until God softened my heart and showed me his love till I really understood what it meant to love and care for things. So
Wow.
just adding that little tidbit at the end there.
Love that.
Joel, do you have anything else you wanted to add about the Zeus stuff?
No, you go. You want to go in on Zeus some more?
You better believe I do, because Satan is referred to as the prince of the power of the air, of which Zeus is the god of.
Yeah.
In addition to going against Cronus, I believe. Cronus. In essence, Zeus rallied the children of Cronus against him to do so.
There you go.
Of which Satan, of course, rallied, a third of the angels?
Third, I think, yeah.
To go against God and all fall, specifically like lightning from heaven. Again, all very specific. Satan used wind to kill Job's children in the book of Job, when they were all in one place trying to kill the children of the most righteous one within the land, within humanity at that time. And that is what Satan has been said to always do, which is what Zeus repeatedly does.
Wow.
Conspiracy check.
Conspiracy
It's our new
check.
podcast.
And then that's true. Oh yeah, and then if you subscribe to a certain definition of Nephilim, the sons of God, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying that
Yep.
like the children of Kronos, right? Like those who rebelled, they mated with it. They laid with the daughters of man, right? And that is something Zeus does a whole lot.
Yep.
Just saying.
And
That's
both,
a very-
for the record, from that create giants.
Yeah, that's true. In both
Specifically.
lores. Wow.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's
Wild. It's
It's
constant.
got deep, guys.
Not only,
Yeah.
I was gonna say not only that, but then within Roman mythos, Jupiter has similar but more constant parallels, obviously, and then you see what those all devolve into in terms of the sense of depravity. If you look to places like Pompeii, where like the floors were all etched with like inappropriate symbols and stuff like that, and like they were all wiped out, and makes you think like, okay, had to have done something, right?
So,
I mean,
I think all this to say though, so without getting it all like, you know,
Now we're
becoming
going
a
off the
scholarly
rabbit hole
thing,
here.
I do think there's a lot of very real relevance to the idea of other gods, right? Do not put other gods before me. I think
Yep.
there are powers and principalities at work that would claim godhood that are very real, and you have to acknowledge if you like you're part of this faith, you can't throw that part out. It's
Yep.
real, and and they have, you know, from our perspective, like very real, like whatever powers, but obviously not the greatest power. That's the important thing. That's why we follow, you know, the one true God. But yeah, all that to say, in a sense, there are others. There are other gods that that are fighting to try to, you know, take that top spot, and then and it is still relevant to this day, even though like there's not a lot of people out here, although kind of an increasing amount that's been surprising me, but not a lot of people that actually worship like mythical, you know, like ancient mythical gods and actual Satan, although that's getting pretty popular again
it's
too.
getting very popular all of a sudden. It's very scary.
Yeah, so just follow the first commandment.
That's
what I'm trying to say.
Any final thoughts?
I think that wraps it up pretty well.
Awesome.
And obviously we'll be back here next week to showcase some very fun trials for the guys.
Oh, the first
Now
trials
at
of
level
the
3,
First
Bastion.
Bastion. That's
having
pretty sick.
released the
The
power of the
Ziggurat.
Bastion and absorbed it into themselves in part.
At level 3,
Yeah.
ladies and gents.
And then, of course, it's a read up on the second commandment. So, very excited to have you guys all here for both aspects. And, of course, as always, we all here at Divine Inspiration love you all.
Yes.
And with that, God bless.
We
Have
love
a great
God
week.
more.
See you guys.